Hey, welcome to episode 102 of the While We Were Working podcast. This is a show that helps you become a better people leader in 30 minutes or less because we know you're busy. So we share all of the news and top tips from HR consultants in the space to help you make difficult and sometimes tricky HR decisions. As always, I'm your host, Joey Price here, and I'm joined as always by our awesome co-host, Sommer Ketron, who is going to tell us a lot about some of the topics that we're going to cover today. The first thing that we're going to cover is about the new form I-9, and it's a form that everyone has to complete if they work and are employed in the United States. So you want to pay attention to this and the things that are changing about that document. The other thing we're going to talk about is what do you do if there's a rumor going around that you have an employee that was convicted of a violent felony. What can or can't you do in the situation? And we will help guide you down the path of the decision so that you can. Sommer, how are you doing? What's new in your world? I know you were on vacation. Do you want to tell the people anything awesome about your trip, about your travels? What's going on with you?
Oh, Joey, thanks. Happy to be back. Thanks everyone for joining our show. It's always great to, just kind of take a break, get out there and enjoy. I love to travel. And one of the most awesome things that I had the opportunity to do, which was, I call it on my bucket list, things to do, before you die. And it was saving baby turtles in Cozumel. So had the opportunity to travel there and work with a local government conservation agency that tags, tracks, monitors, and helps the little turtles that didn't hatch and make their way out of the nest, help dig them up and actually get them to the ocean. So really cool opportunity. And now I have to figure out what's next.
Yeah, you do. And so, not only are you saving people from perils of bad HR, but you are saving turtles as well. We've got to do some kind of behind the scenes show. For those of you who don't know, whether it's a show or social media, but Sommer is a really savvy animal guardian, and she's got phenomenal stories. She's got phenomenal animals. So you gotta get to know Sommer on the animal guardian side because it's truly a nice thing to get to know about her. And me, as you know, getting ready to take a couple days off. I am thrilled, and we just celebrated my daughter's birthday. My oldest daughter turned 5, so it's a lot of fun here at the house. And can I tell you a secret? She's not gonna watch this podcast, so I'll tell everybody a secret. What's that? She doesn't know that Christmas you're gonna get her a dog, and so I will make my way to pick the dog up from the breeder. But she is fun times ahead in our house, and somebody will come back with that back. So, all right, well, let's jump into while we were working. And Sommer, can you set it up? Because you just did a training about this, right?
I did, and I have to try not to be distracted by the news of the puppy, Joey, because...
Wait, no. Let's go ahead. Puppy talk. Let's go puppy talk. What do you want to know? I'm sure that people want to know. I just robbed everybody of a chance to talk about it. I just kind of threw that in and kept moving.
Okay, you at least have to let us know what type of puppy you are getting.
Yes, we are getting a Bernedoodle. It is a Saint Bernard puppy, Saint Bernard poodle mix. So the growth, right? Yeah. Say what?
Big and fluffy.
Yeah. Big, fluffy. They don't shed, so that was my requirement. The other requirement is it's got to be a boy because I live with all girls. I need a best bud. But the puppy will grow to 40, 50 pounds is peak weight.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you and the family. It's going to be such a great addition. And, the kiddos are at a really cool age to where, they will grow up together. They'll have a new best friend. And I can't wait until and until your puppy comes home. So
Yeah.
make sure you keep
I'll
us
have to
updated.
send show pictures online about the journey in our Slack and inside HRU. We'll talk about it at some point, but yeah, I'll share the journey for sure.
For sure. And, almost as exciting as bringing a new puppy home, the employers received a new I-9 form. So, it's like, puppy, new I-9 form, like pretty much the same.
Hey, it's all good news. It's all good news. It's all joy, right? I've got to learn how to take care of a puppy, and employers have to learn how to complete this new document. So we're all in this together. And, like I said, Summer, you did a training on this. So tell us, what is the article that we are learning from today and while we were working? And from your expertise, what are some of the things that people should be paying attention to with this new item? What different? Why did we make a change? So let us know.
There's actually some really good news. Now, I know hearing I-9 and good news, Joey, is probably like, are you sure? But we're referring to an article that came out November 6th in JD Supra. It's titled Employers Take Note, New I-9 Forms Required. Now, new I-9 form hopefully isn't totally new news. This actually came out, the form came out with an edition date of August 1st. But one of the most important takeaways, Joey, is that the form is now mandatory. This version is mandatory to be used as of November 1st. So if you're an employer and you're not quite using it yet, you want to hustle on over and get that new form downloaded and use it for your hires and re-verifications going forward. But Joe, you want to maybe talk about together some of the changes that are on the new form?
Yeah, let's do it. Other than changing the dates on it, there are some new things that you as an employer need to know. I think the first one being called the relationship. Well, it's not so much like something on the paperwork, but I want to talk about the relationship that it has with E-Verify. For the longest time, E-Verify, I would say, has been this thing that's kind of in the background. If you know, if you need it, then you know about it and use it. But I think the changing relationship that this form has with E-Verify sort of brings E-Verify to the forefront to say, hey, a lot of employers out there want to have remote teams. One of the ways you could do that, or the primary way to do that, is to submit documents through E-Verify. And then, of course, there's an alternative which you could share. But it's interesting. It's kind of like they finally found a way, or DHS has finally found a way to make E-Verify relevant to all employers. And, E-Verify is only mandatory in some states, not all. It's a voluntary thing. It's not voluntary if you're a contractor of a certain size. But I just think that that's a big change, because now it gives employers, large and small, the capabilities to prove that someone is capable of working in the U.S. Without having to have them show up and complete physical documents, or go to a notary, as might have been our guidance in the past. It's some government's attempt to make things easier, although you do got to sign up that one time. So that's the biggest change for me, is E-Verify rising to prominence and rising to visibility, for sure.
Yeah, Joey, you mentioned something that, for those of us that have, worked with E-Verify for some time, and or maybe have even been the subject of an audit and voluntold to move to E-Verify, certainly there has been a push, if you will, to get companies on E-Verify. And I think they just found the way to do it. But it's like less of a push, and it's really more of a carrot. And, prior to this, remote verification was only permitted for I-9 documentation as part of, the COVID protocols. But now allowing employers who have remote employees to verify documents remotely, so long as they are also using E-Verify, is a huge step. So even just that in itself, I think, would be a total win. But believe it or not, if you haven't seen this new I-9 form, I think you're going to like it. And the things that I'm referring to is really just some of the formatting. There's been a lot of streamlining in the form itself. You know, if you've completed this form, you know that there's certain sections that you usually just skip right past, but there are also sections that are most common to have questions on. You know, people wonder, does a translator, or preparer, does that apply to me? They've actually moved that and section 3 to actually separate pages. So if they don't apply, then you don't even have to go past them. And, it's a really simple change, Joey, but it's also a wonderful change that I think is going to just make it that much easier to avoid mistakes on a form that's really just prone to a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, you and I have seen our fair of I-9s over the years, some that we have created and some we have stepped in and tailored to review. And, I won't even say without the guidance of expert HR, because quite frankly, even HR gets it wrong sometimes. Yeah, so I can't even say it's a non-HR with HR issue. It's are we taking the time to learn it, and how confusing is it in the first place? Sort of issue. So yes, I love that you bring the point up that they move some things around to make it easier for people to follow. And what is it? The certify that part's like moved all the way to the bottom. Is that right? Or what did they move it? Yeah, bottom, right?
Yes. Well, they actually moved it to separate pages. So
Yes.
the translator and preparer, as well as the rehire or re-verification, which is, for those folks who may have an end date to the time window in which they're authorized to work. Those are actually totally separate forms. So the cool thing is, if that doesn't apply, you never even have to look at them. So it would be really easy, to just stick to the information you need. Imagine that.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are probably viewing or listening to this, and you're like, well, where's this form? Where can I find this form? We will have a form on our website, so you can just kind of check our website. We'll put a button up there to download it, as well as Sommer, you recently had a training on how to complete it, where you walk through a few of the most common instances of completing this form. And so we've got that on our website as well, so you can take a look at the training. And the cool thing about it is, as much as it's for people who are seeing I-9s in your open first time, it's a really good refresher for HR as well. I think that Sommer, you did a great job explaining the sections, the relationship that I-9s have with employers, the different section or list A, B, and C documents, and the do's and don'ts around that. So we'll drop a link to that in the show notes. You can check that out as well. But for Sommer, is there anything else that you want to share about the training that you did, so that we could kind of share the value of checking that out?
Of course, I love I-9s. In fact, if there was a shirt that says I love I-9s, I'd probably wear it. But I think my love for them comes from just seeing how easy it is to make mistakes, but also how easy it is to get them right if you just have access to the information. So the training that Joey's referring to is called I-9 Compliance Made Easy. And even if you've been doing I-9s for your entire career, it's totally worth checking out, because we're specifically reviewing this new form. We're reviewing the changes. We're reviewing the new protocols for that alternative procedure we talked about, where if you meet certain criteria, you can do remote verification. And we also talk about something that not many people know about, and that is something that's called the authorized representative. Joey, I know you know, but if you're listening, let's just say you're not an E-Verify employer and you have no intentions of becoming one. But you also still have remote employees. So you can't use that remote verification process. What do you do? Well, I can't give away all my secrets, but there is actually a process for you to follow. And if you attend the training, we're going to take you through exactly how you can do that and also give you some tips and tricks to make completing your I-9s easier.
See, I told you, Summer is saving the animal, saving us from bad HR decisions and bad HR choices. So you got to check out the training. The link is in the show notes, and you can find it on the website too. So let's go ahead and put a bow in that and jump into Consultants Corner. Consultants Corner is, as always, it's a forum for you to ask us questions, and you'll get our take on HR topics. So this week, we've got a very interesting question that came in, and I'll just read it to you, and with some of it, you can take a little on this one. But it says, there are rumors swirling that one of our employees was convicted of violent felony. What can't we do in this situation? And something about this is, first things first, are felons eligible for employment? Absolutely. In fact, I want to get a guest on our show one day to talk about reentry and some of the population that's reentering into the workforce. So this is a conversation about, the rumors, what can and can't you do, and so, Summer, what are your how did we get this question, and guide us through the journey of walking through the can and can't do.
Thanks, Joey. And sometimes it's hard because when we get these questions, we don't have a lot of information, right? So it's like, you kind of have to think of like the what ifs. And when I think about the situation and hear that there's rumors, of course, as an HR pro, right? It's like I follow the rule of like trust but verify, like trust that this information is circulating for a reason, but verify that it's accurate. So I trust no rumors, but I would also say that if I've received information that is credible enough for me to feel like talking with this team member is the right course of action, then certainly that's the first step, right? But also think about what if there's really more to this story and like the rumors aren't true, and the challenges that that a company could face if they approach a team member and start asking these questions and they realize like, no, it's not true. In fact, maybe there's team members who are conspiring to get somebody booted out of the org, right? So, as HR pros, Joey, like we see this crazy stuff actually happening, but for companies who may not have gone through something like this in the past, I always say like consider all possible options first before taking that first step. That would probably be my number one.
Yeah, and I think after that too, once you kind of mapped out your potential pathways, I would recommend picking up the phone and calling an employment attorney who you have a relationship with, because to your point, Sumner, it's not just about he say, she say. You could spin it up into libel, defamation, things of that nature, if in fact it's not a merited rumor. And then even if it is true, I would have better peace of mind knowing that we made decisions about how to proceed with the blessing of counsel. And part of our duty, one of the values we have here is to be part coach, part cheerleader. And sometimes there will be things that we will coach you through and get you through. Other times you're gonna need a specialist, and we have a duty to tell you when to bring in a specialist. So you might want to triangulate decision or steps with PR, the marketing and PR leaders, your executive team, HR, and an employment attorney, because that decision group will allow you to make a thoughtful, holistic decision about something that could be very, very sticky and very, very complex. So my second thing would be to seek counsel.
That's really good advice. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because it is super important. And there's quite a bit that as HR pros we can do that legal counsel also does. Like I think there's quite a bit of overlap. But in this case, I do think it is really great to work together. And, I always think about legal counsel as like it's checking your work, right? When there's a lot at stake. And at the end of the day, your legal counsel is not going to be the one to actually do it, right? They're going to give you the boundaries of what you can and can't do and also advice on how to do it. But at the end of the day, the company still needs to do it. So that's where I think like as HR pros, we can come in and do that heavy lifting. But going back to the situation, Joey, with the details being, that there was rumors swirling that one of the employees was convicted of a violent felony. Let's just say hypothetically, we do proceed and we talk to the team member and we confirm that they were indeed actually convicted during their employment of a violent felony. Like, what do you do next? And I think there's a lot of considerations, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on today. And the first is to never assume that just because somebody's been convicted of a felony that they can't work at your company. And that's number one. I think it's important to ask the team member to share any information that they're willing to share regarding the details, knowing that the purpose of the conversation is to truly understand and then ultimately, internally make the decision as to whether that individual can continue to be employed. Because, depending on the type of work that the company does, the type of workers that the company has. So, for example, are there minors? You really have to look at the situation on a case-by-case basis, Joey. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is to not have a broad rule, but to look at the details of the situation and then make a decision. Now, you might be a company that has contracts that say like, hey, if you're sending out, contractors on assignments that, they have to meet certain requirements in terms of a background check, that may be applicable. But I do think that understanding all of the details and then making a decision based on all of those factors is the best way to go. And in the event that there's a compelling reason that an individual with that type of crime on their background can't work for the company, well, I think then you need to explore your options on how best to part ways that, takes care of the departing team member and also, protects the risk of the company and the employees as well.
Yeah, and you also probably need to think about how to relay the message or not relay the message to customers who may be active. I get to environments where someone's an account manager, the high interaction with customer. Now, if this is for example, a warehouse and manufacturing, where let's say see customers, it's less of a consideration, I would imagine. But the more day-to-day interaction with its customers, then you might want to take it, but how they'll discuss this. Another thing that I thought about that you brought me to remember, Sommer, is there's a difference between conviction and sentencing and accusation. And, we are in an era where something could happen in a town and the town newspaper write about it. But by the time it gets to an attorney or a jury trial or a judge trial, the justice system decides that like, okay, maybe this person was convicted, but there'll be probation and maybe we're not going to convict at all. So we have to weigh, and to the point about you said, okay, well, bring me everything that you feel comfortable sharing. Because if it's a news article, which is possible, then you'd probably want to trace that to, okay, well, are there any, and I don't know, obviously consult an attorney, right? I don't want to give wrong or false information. This is all education here, but you just want to confirm, right, that the information shared in the article wasn't later retracted, wasn't deemed false. If there's no record of a criminal case or anything like that, because people even do get their records expunged, and they do have the right to do so. They've been granted that opportunity. So you got like what you can Google, and then what the courts say, and so it's definitely something not to take lightly about resolving it or kind of how to manage next steps, because you can open yourself up to a big situation if it's not handled well.
That's right. And so I think, we've just kind of touched the surface on this topic, based on the question that came in and the limited information that we had. But I do think we provided some great tips on, what you can and can't do. And I think a big takeaway is really just to not to move fast, but to not move too fast that you are, skipping the piece where it's really important to evaluate each situation on a case-by-case basis, and to not forget about consulting an employment attorney to protect your work.
Yeah. So I hope that this episode has your wheels spinning a bit. One, on that new new I-9, so that you go to our website and not only grab the new I-9, but also sign up for the training. And then also from the standpoint of what do you do if there's a rumor around employee felony on their record. There are a lot of things to consider. So I hope you walk away with that actionable information and insight. So Sommer, it's been a great episode. As always enjoy chatting with you. And until next time, everybody, have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.